With the recently improved intelligence damage scaling, Mage has become an incredibly reliable class to play. From having some of the most useless abilities to being able to consistently place high on golems and wipe dungeon floors, more and more people are starting to play it because it's so viable. Most people will either use a Bonzo Staff or a Frozen Scythe when running this build, but for someone who's thinking about switching now, which one of these weapons is better and which one should you pick? Luckily for you, I've put these two up to the test to see which situations they shine best in and what you should avoid depending on the weapon you pick. But before we do get started, I'd like to quickly mention that if you have any further questions or comments about this video, be sure to pop into my Twitch streams. I stream every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The links are down in the description below. We have a lot of open discussions over there, so I highly recommend checking it out. Without further ado, let's get right into the video. Okay, so here we are in the Hypixel Hub. I am wearing my full, very wise dragon set right here, and I've also got my Bonzo Staff and my Frozen Scythe to be showcasing in today's video, so you guys get a nice little comparison to decide on which one you want to go for, whether it be the Bonzo or whether it be the Frozen Scythe. So, let's get started, shall we? So, the first thing I want to cover is just the basic stats, showing you guys what it looks like with the enchantments and all that, just the all-round sort of stats to begin with. So, for starters, I want to point out that the Bonzo Staff actually is a dungeon item, so this means that it will be a much better weapon inside of dungeons, as the dungeon percentages, you can see the little grayed out brackets, those ones will actually be in effect when you go into a dungeon, and you'll do way more damage than that of the Frozen Scythe. So as you can see, this one has ultimate wise 5, because that's what we were able to put on this, and then we just got some basic level 5 enchantments with luck 6, scavenger 4, experience 4, and just some other sort of like cheaper level 6 and 4 enchants. But as you can see here, we got the plus 160 damage, and also the plus 50% crit damage. The strength is pretty much irrelevant, I'm pretty sure. Mage weapons do not get affected by strength in any way, so that's nothing to be worrying about. But it also provides an easy 315 intelligence with the heroic reforge, so it would normally give you 250 intelligence if you just had no reforges at all. So now that we've got the Bonzo Stuff out of the way, let me just show you guys what the Frozen Scythe looks like. So straight away you could tell here that the damage is much lower. So the damage on the Bonzo is 160, and it gets buffed even further to 312 when playing dungeons, while the Frozen Scythe is only 80 damage, and it also still has that 50% crit damage. So just by looking at the raw stats, you could kind of see that the Frozen Scythe looks pretty bad judging by those stats. However, what you haven't noticed is that if I look at the Bonzo Stuff over here, at the very, very bottom it tells you the item ability. It says Showtime. Shoots balloons that create a large explosion on impact, dealing up to 945 damage. While with the Frozen Scythe, it says that it shoots one ice bolt that deals 1,600 damage and slows enemies that have been hit for 5 seconds. So automatically, the Frozen Scythe ability is a little bit better in the sense that it deals more damage ability-wise, and it gives you that extra slowness, which is pretty handy as well. So now that I've covered these basic stats of these weapons, how about we go into a little bit of a damage test really quickly here. So just before we get started, I do want to just talk about my talismans as well. I've gone with full bazaar on absolutely everything to give myself the maximum amount of intelligence, as this will give me more intelligence to just run around with and just attack these zombies. And I've also got a legendary sheep pet, so if I just hover over my pets menu, you can see that I've currently got this level 82 sheep pet, which once again has a textbook item, so it gives me even more mana on top of that. And I have the wise reforge on my wise set, so that makes it very wise, also giving me even more intelligence, so we should be able to run through these pretty easily. So how about we go for a quick run through this little cavern part of the crypt. So if we just run straight through here and just use our Bonzo Stuff, running through, being able to sort of like steamroll through the crypticals, they're not even getting a chance to hit us. We do have really, really good range with the Bonzo Stuff, running through, dealing a lot of damage, doing about 34,000 damage a hit. We'll try and get the numbers a little bit better here. So if I just shoot this guy, 34,367 was the exact number. I'll just do it again right here on this critical and try to get you guys a screenshot up on screen. As you can see, that actually did 24,000 damage. I'm not too sure how much that one did, but you get the idea. We go through these really, really easily, so just steamrolling, wiping the floor clean, really nice in the criticals. Now, I'm not sure whether or not you'd actually be fighting criticals with full wise and a Bonzo Stuff, but if you do choose to, you can see that's actually really easy, being able to one-tap that guy once again. So now that we've done the little course using the Bonzo Stuff, let's try that with the Frozen Scythe, and I'll give my thoughts on that. Alrighty, so going to run through this whole thing with the Frozen Scythe now. I'm just going to go straight through it, shooting all these criticals. So the first thing you may notice is that I don't take any knockback from the balloons, or I guess in this case the ice shards, because that is just a special ability that the Bonzo Staff gives. But this is also really, really easy, just running through, being able to one-shot all these criticals, doing about 36,000 damage a hit. I think it's 36,297. We'll just double check that really quickly here. And also the ice ball has a piercing effect, which is actually really, really nice. So able to hit more than one critical at a time, and that does make it much easier to farm these guys if that's what you choose to do here. So overall, Frozen Scythe looking pretty solid. I'm just going to give give my thoughts really quickly on which one I think is better for these kind of things. So without further ado, let's get straight to it. Alrighty, so you guys saw the numbers there. You guys saw how easy it was to run through the crypt both times using both weapons. Now I do want to say that first things first, none of these weapons are bad. You can tell that both of them do excellent damage, excellent crowd control, can wipe these sort of areas really easily against these lower hit point mobs. So that's one thing I just wanted to state before I get to sort of judging it really heavily. But I think I'm going to have to give this one to the Bonzo Staff to start things off, because the Bonzo Staff has a much better AoE effect, and you can see when I shoot the balloons actually have a larger hitbox, and you can actually spam them just like this. So when you're able to spam balloons and cover such a large, wide range with that, it makes it much easier to clear out like big hordes of enemies. As you can see, those crypt ghouls were pretty clumped up. There was a lot of them. It made it really easy. And when you're running through some dungeon runs with some people, it's actually so much easier when you have a Bonzo Staff, because you're able to just sort of spam away and clear out the entire thing very easily. So I highly recommend the Bonzo Staff for these crowd control type mobs. But now that we've done the crypt ghouls, how about we head over to the end now and just try it out on some zealots, and we'll see how that goes for us. Okay, so now we're in the end, and I'm perched up on this little spire in the middle of the dragon's nest. So without further ado, how about we just start with the Bonzo Stuff like we did before. Gonna shoot these zealots here, just sort of throwing 2 balloons at a time. You only really need 1, but I like to throw a few more just because I have the extra bit of mana. And this is actually relatively easy. We're able to just tap all these zealots nice and easily here. No big deals at all. Being able to one-shot them, which is really nice, because you do want that one-shot capability, as people are able to get in the way. Now, you did see that I accidentally shot myself off with the sort of knockback ricochet effect, and that is one thing to look out for with the Bonzo Stuff. It can be pretty annoying in some situations, but at the same time, it can also be really useful and also a little bit of fun. But once again, as you can see, the Bonzo Stuff, not too bad, although I would like it to be a little bit quicker. You saw that right there. I think that guy just took our zealot because he was much faster than the balloons that we've thrown. But right there, these ones are going really slowly, and they didn't even do any damage to the zealots. I'm going to try and hit him again if we can just zoom in a little bit closer. We were able to hit both of those, but that's only because there was nobody there. If someone went for those zealots there, we would have missed that for sure, because the Bonzo Stuff does travel really slowly. So how about we try it with the Frozen Scythe now, and we'll see how this one feels. So automatically you can notice a huge difference, and it's the fact that the Frozen Scythe will travel much quicker. It's going to be able to hit that zealot way easier than we did with the Bonzo Staff. So we're able to contest these much quicker than anybody else. Like this guy running around in full young, able to snipe that zealot away from him, getting that easy kill. Being able to take out all these other little mobs as well, the Watchers, the Obby Defenders. We'll get 2 more zealots spawning here, being able to clear them out. So overall, with this little bit of testing here, I can kind of say that the Frozen Scythe is a lot better than the Bonzo against zealots, because if you're going to be sitting here and farming them the way that I am, it's a much quicker traveling projectile. It does one-shot as well. It's really accurate, very precise, and easy to hit. So I feel like I'm going to have to give this one to the Frozen Scythe, while the Bonzo Staff is better at clearing hordes like in dungeon runs or crypt ghouls. Okay, so for these last few tests, I've decided to compare these weapons against endstone protectors and also in some dungeon runs. So for the next segment of this video, I'll be commentating over some footage that I collected earlier. So straight away you can see here that going through the dungeon with a Bonzo Staff allows me to swiftly and easily steamroll my way through all the mobs. I'm having hardly no issues at all in being able to take them out, other than the occasional balloon pushing me backwards because of its hitbox. I managed to make my way through this entire room, all the way up until the end chest, and then head straight back within seconds. So it's clear that the Bonzo Staff in this situation is really good for crowd control, and definitely very suitable for dungeons. This next clip is just me demonstrating the sheer strength of the Bonzo Staff. You can see how easy it is to kill this angry archaeologist, melting its health super quickly and moving on to the next part of the dungeon very fast. For this last clip of the Bonzo Staff, you can see how he completely annihilated Bonzo himself, killing him in about 3 seconds. The DPS on this weapon is absolutely insane inside of dungeons, and with the help of your teammates, it makes it even easier to beat runs. So, now that we've compared the strength of the Bonzo Staff inside of dungeons, let's move on to the Frozen Scythe and see how that compares. Moving on to the Frozen Scythe now, you can see that similar to the Bonzo Staff, we are able to easily clear out this floor. It deals enough damage to one-shot mostly every mob, although it does shoot a lot slower and doesn't have the area effect that the Bonzo Staff has. However, there is a piercing ability on the ice shards, so that makes it slightly more convenient when trying to clear out floors. This next clip is once again a quick showcase of the Frozen Scythe against one of the mini-bosses. You can see how easily it crushes this lost adventurer, although it does take a little bit more time to get through all the health compared to the Bonzo Staff, but it still gets the job done, and this run is still very quick. And then for how well it does against the boss, you can see that just like the Bonzo Staff, we were able to easily melt through Bonzo's health, although it was a little bit slower than the Bonzo Staff as it shoots slower. Despite this, the Frozen Scythe is still a very good option for dungeons runs, although I'd still class the Bonzo Staff as the ideal mage weapon in this scenario. So now we move on to the endstone protectors, where we use the Bonzo Staff first up to see how well it performs. You can see that right away we are able to spam our ability on the Endstone Protector, dealing a pretty solid amount of damage. Although after a while it gets very difficult to see what's happening due to the excessive amount of particles, and then shortly after I end up running out of mana. The rest of the fight wasn't too bad despite having little mana however, as I had already done close to 1,000,000 damage and still managed to place 3rd. Overall, the Bonzo Staff didn't perform too well on this Endstone Protector, and honestly I thought it might have been able to do a little bit better. Now for the Frozen Scythe, you can see that already it's definitely much easier to dish out damage to the golem. At the start, I had a bit of trouble as I was accidentally opening people's stats, although the precision of the ice shards are much easier to land on the Endstone Protector than that of the Bonzo Staff. The Frozen Scythe was also dealing a little more damage than the Bonzo, and once I started keeping my distance and lining up more shots, I was able to deal a lot more damage. I didn't play this fight out too well, although with a little bit more practice, I'm sure that I could have done much more damage, so I'm going to have to give this test to the Frozen Scythe as it has a lot more potential than the Bonzo Staff. Alrighty, so that's going to wrap up things for today's video. Hopefully you guys did enjoy. If you did, please do leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel because I do make these Hypixel Skyblock videos every Wednesdays and Fridays. And also, if you have any further questions, comments, or suggestions, or you just want to talk to me when I'm live over on Twitch, feel free to visit me over there. I stream every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The links are down in the description below. Like I said in the beginning of the video, we have a lot of open discussions, so that's definitely a great place to be. But, with that being said, hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. And as always, take care and peace. That's my best run. GGC, told you. Let's go, dude! Recombobulator! Recom!